Okay.
Can you give like your official title
Sure.
and your standing in the film department?
Sure, yeah, my name is April Miller, and I'm an assistant professor of film studies here at UNC, and I'm also the director of the film minor.
Oh,
So, and I've been here for just 2 semesters so far, so I'm fairly new to the department.
you took over for Barantini, correct?
I actually was hired, I was supposed to be a complement to him, but he then ended up leaving afterwards, but we've recently just hired somebody new who will be starting in September, who is not really replacing Barantini, but will be, you know, adding to our department. We'll be teaching film studies and mostly non-US cinema, so lots of new exciting things happening, so that's good.
How long has film studies been offered here at UNC?
It's been offered for about 7 years now as a film minor. It's been sort of in development for just around 7 years, and it was first started by Dean David Caldwell and Mark Barantini. They sort of produced the whole program to create the film minor.
How is film studies viewed as like a whole, I guess, in academics? Or is it like along the same lines as like music and art appreciation? Or?
It's similar. A lot of film studies programs at their start out of English departments, and I think that's part of why there are so many sort of film programs within English departments. So, but it wasn't really until kind of the late 70s, early 80s that it really started to sort of take off on its own, whereas a lot of the other disciplines, whether it's English, art history, have been around for a lot longer. So it's a newer discipline in the kind of scheme of things, but it's certainly, you know, very well respected and has kind of a growing interest in it. Now there's, you know, it has its own sort of organization where scholars meet every year, and you know, there's hundreds of interesting papers that get presented and so on, and so, you know, it's really well respected in that sense. But it is definitely new, and there are some people who are sort of skeptical of it and think, what do you do in a film studies classroom besides watch movies and, you know, talk about them and chat like you would if you go to the movie theater. So it's still, you know, for some people it's a little hard for them to quite understand what you do academically with film studies. So.
But it's getting there.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Much more sort of established than it would have been even 15 years ago.
I guess, how would this department, this film studies department, compare to others around, or others that you've worked with or seen or know about?
Well, it's definitely a growing program, which is one of the things that I thought was exciting when I came here. Is it's been around for a while, but with usually just one professor, and then they decided to add a second position to sort of help grow the program and establish it, and to add a bit of a component of what I do, which is predominantly film history, and so looking for someone to sort of specialize in that. So it was exciting to kind of be involved with a program that was sort of building itself from the ground up in that way, and sort of really be involved with deciding what kinds of courses should be included in the minor, what kinds of people maybe should we look at trying to hire to sort of bolster the credentials of the minor, and also thinking that we'd like to see a film major offered at some point in the near future. So that's something that's really exciting for me to sort of look at it and say, hey, I can really take a look and participate in that whole process and so on. So I think that's different. One of the things I like too is that it's housed in a school, in the School of English Language and Literature, that has a cultural studies minor and an emphasis on English in education and English literature and film studies. So there's already this kind of environment of interdisciplinarity, which is exciting. I think it's a good place for a film studies kind of program to be, to sort of have that sort of respected interdisciplinary nature of the school. So it's nice. My colleagues are really kind of excited to see what, you know, I do with film studies in the classroom and so on. So that makes it a little different, I think, to be kind of housed in that way and to have that kind of cross-disciplinary focus to it. So.
I guess, what kind of students, is there like a general trend of students that you see taking to the minor, and what kind of student would you say should roll into the minor?
That's a great question. I mean, I think there's a huge range, especially in something like my introduction to film studies class. I'm teaching 2 sections of that right now, and there's students from across the university who take that class. Students who are, you know, future teachers, who are interested in journalism, who are interested in performance, nursing, etc. They run the whole gamut. I find, especially once you get into the upper level classes, there does seem to be a slightly more kind of cohesion in the types of students who are interested in it. And I will see more students who are interested in performing arts, music, journalism, English literature, and so on. And so they really kind of see the connections there between performance on stage and performance on screen and what they can learn from analyzing. Yeah, you know, it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah, it is. And I do now look at movies completely different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost done with the minor. This will be my last class. class. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't quite get the whole in-depth thing, of like, as far as you guys take it, sometimes in class I'm like, okay, I could see it, but I never would have thought of it. It's just, it's crazy, you know, what
Yeah.
people can get out of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can be like, I guess. But
Right.
You know, so
Yeah,
no,
well, and you
it's
have to-
cool though. I
yeah.
mean, it's just,
And you have to, you know, sort of play devil's advocate with the things a
Yeah.
little bit, and I think that's exciting. I mean, you know, with the class that I'm teaching now on the horror film, there's a lot of students that enrolled in that class more because they want to fulfill a requirement for the minor, and they think, well, I'm not necessarily a horror film person. And then start to unpack it and realize, wow, there's a lot of really interesting kind of social commentary going on in this film that I never would have thought of. You know, because horror films are supposed to be kind of the fun, over-the-top, you know, much less academic and sort of intellectual genre. And so students will then be sort of surprised to think, looking at a horror film can actually tell me a lot about politics and sort of gender norms and all these other kinds of things that you might not even really sort of think of. You think, I'll expect to see those in a documentary, or I'll expect to see those in a more kind of lofty drama, but that you can still look at, you know, a slapstick comedy or a horror film or, you know, a kung fu film and actually see how it resonates with contemporary social politics and, you know, all kinds of other sort of cultural and social norms. So I think that's exciting for students to realize that.
Absolutely.
Challenging, but exciting, you know?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so